Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a solo hammock overnighter in the snowy forest with a little bit of a twist. So hiking into this location, the snow is up to my waist in a lot of the areas. Snowshoes would be an asset on a day such as this, but I don't have a pair of snowshoes. I do have them on order, however, but they're not here today. So hiking in led to wet pants. So if you guys can see, my whole back and butt area is totally soaked right now. It's only -5 degrees Celsius out, but that's still a danger zone for me to be walking around with wet clothing. I do, of course, have a full change of clothing, 2 pairs of pants, down pants, a jacket, and my down jacket inside. So I'm not terribly worried about my pants being soaking wet for the duration of the trip because I can change or dry them out, which leads me to my first task and chore of the forest, basically, is get a fire going. I need a fire right away, and I think I'm going to do it right where the camera is situated just to help dry out my pants because the temperature is going to drop down to -10 Celsius tonight, and I don't want my pants to freeze. The back of my legs were already quite cold, and I want to stay ahead of the game. So I'm going to leave the hammock hanging just for now. I'm going to grab my saw, cut up some of this deadfall and some of these branches around the area, get a small fire going, and get nice and warm. All right, so with the campfire going, I gotta say that was actually really easy to get that going. Everything in the area is dead and dry, so fire is nice and hot right now. I even went ahead and made myself a little bench just by propping a piece of wood across the snow, compacting it in there, and that'll be my chair for the evening. So my goal right now is to get a hot drink going. While that fire's ripping right now, I want to take advantage of it burning. I want to get a hot drink on the fire, get that in me nice and warm, and then I do need to collect some more firewood because I'm actually going to be cooking on the fire later on this evening. And as I already mentioned, I'm totally soaked. So I do need to dry out, which means I need to prop myself right here later this evening. If it does get unbearable and this starts freezing up, I'll change into a dry pair of pants, hang these up on this tree, let them dry out naturally next to the fire, and then just continue on with the day. But for now, I think I'm just gonna tough it out, kind of move around, let this air dry, and then I can sit down next to the fire later on to finish off the drying process. So let's get a hot drink on the go. Alright guys, I've got a hot tea on the go right now, nice campfire to warm up and dry out in front of, and I gotta say, this is absolutely awesome. Despite how wet and how cold the back of my legs and my butt are right now, I don't think it'll take too long to dry off later this evening. They're already starting to steam a lot just sitting right here, so maybe I'll just sit here for a few minutes and see what we can accomplish as far as drying out. I will mention that there are a lot of snowmobilers out today, so I can hear them way off in the distance on those trails, and it sounds like they're out having some fun as well. So a little bit of background noise today, but later on this evening that'll all go away, and it'll be nothing but beautiful crackling campfire. So I'm going to chill out here for a few moments, enjoy my hot tea, dry out a little bit, and then I'm going to have to collect a little bit more firewood. Now if you guys notice behind me, there is a big deadfall tree. It is loaded full of softwood limbs. I'm going to take my saw and cut a bunch of those off of there to get on the fire, as well as a whole bunch of dead standing and deadfall hardwood just behind the hammock area. So I've got all kinds of firewood to throw on this, get a big ripping fire later on, get nice and dry and nice and warm. And then later on when the fire dies out, that's when I'll set up my hammock tarp, because I don't want any embers making its way over there. So, like I said, I'm steaming already. I'm going to enjoy my tea and just relax for a few minutes, guys. So cheers. Alright guys, so it's been about 20 minutes and it is actually starting to snow right now. It is getting a little bit noticeably colder out, and I'm going to have to get the tarp set up right now rather than later, just in case it does really come down with snow. So I'm going to get this strung up really quick. I'm going to pitch it in an open style configuration so I can still come in and out of the hammock, and I'm probably going to pitch it rather high, that way I can just walk in and out. The fire embers seem to be doing quite well in going the opposite direction whenever the breeze comes through. So I'm just going to wing it, get this tarp set up, and hope for the best, guys. Alright, so I've got the rainfly on the hammock pitched and secured. All guy out points were really easy to attach to nearby trees or limbs of trees, with the exception of one. I had to make a dead man anchor using a stick, bury it in the snow. Luckily that tarp has tensioners all around it, so you could just tighten them up off of the tarp instead of having to pull the guy line tight and put it in the ground. So I can adjust that tarp anywheres at any point in time. The fire has also finally melted all the way down to the ground, so it is now on solid ground, which means I could build a really hot coal base and it won't melt down through the snow, because what was happening earlier is the wood stays on top and the coals sink down below, and then you lose your fire, it gets snuffed out. So right now it's actually on solid ground. We're totally established for a really nice hot ripping fire. It is getting very close to supper time. It's quite chilly. My pants did dry out a little bit, but then walking through the snow, of course, they're wet again. So I'm just going to tough it out for a little while, let them be wet. I'm going to be near the fire because then I'm going to start cooking, so they'll dry out eventually. But with that all squared away, I'm going to grab a couple more pieces of wood because I do need to have 2 long pieces to lay across the fire to then put my frying pan on top and start cooking some food. So let's get that done because I am starving. Alright guys, supper is started and I am definitely excited for this one. So let me explain what I got tonight. I have some green onion that I sliced up inside of the bag to the frying pan. I'm going to put those in at the very end. I don't want to cook those. I want those to be nice and crunchy. I have a little bag of cream. This is heavy coffee cream. I was going to do coconut milk, but I wanted to bring the cream instead, so that's what's in there. I have a bag of pasta noodles and a couple pieces of naan bread. I then have some green curry paste. This stuff is incredible. And then over the fire right now, I've got a pot of water for the pasta, and inside of the frying pan, I have a little red onion sliced up and a big old piece of tuna steak. So you guys can see where this is going. I'm basically doing a green curry soup with some pasta, some cream, some tuna, all kinds of great stuff. I'm going to cook it up, bring it all together inside of that pan, and enjoy the dish. So I'm very excited for this. Let's keep cooking. Alright guys, I have got to say, this dish is on point. Absolutely on point. The green curry is perfect. The tuna is so flaky. Absolutely perfect. It is hot. It is spicy. It is everything that I wanted. And these naan breads were a great idea too, by the way, guys. So, I know there's going to be some jealous people out there. Oh, man. If you like tuna and you like curry, I highly recommend cooking this. So this is not a recipe that I find. Every time I cook, it all comes from right up here, guys. I don't read recipes. I don't study. I just grew up cooking, and I enjoy cooking a lot. So yeah, I like to experiment a little bit with different things, and this is definitely something that I'm going to be revisiting. Green curry soup, pasta, tuna. 2 thumbs up, guys. Yeah, get a real good look. She's hot. All right, guys. Supper is all done, and 2 thumbs up on that. It was good. I'm trying to dry out my butt right now real quick. This is the only thing that I could think of that's immediately responsive to getting my butt dry. So my pants are still wet. I'm hoping this will dry it out really quickly. While I'm here, that tuna and that green curry was incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm definitely cooking that again outdoors. So if you guys like tuna or curry, it's a real simple dish. Just slam it all in a pot, cook it up, good to go. And that is feeling nice and warm. Hopefully I could dry this out real quick. As soon as I'm done drying my butt out, I'm going to clean up dishes and get squared away, gather up a little bit more firewood, and probably sit right here with a hot drink and enjoy the evening. Alright guys, nightfall is here, campfire ripping and roaring, and that is all the wood that I'm going to be putting on for tonight. Once this is burned out, I'm going to be jumping inside of the hammock because it is rather cold out, and there's no point sitting in front of a fire collecting wood all night getting wet. So I'll be nice and warm inside of there once this burns out. I should mention that that is all the water that I have left in my water bottle. I am currently boiling up an entire 750 ml pot with snow. I'm then going to transfer into here once it's cold enough, and that'll be water for in the morning time, and if I do need to have a little bit of a drink tonight, I can do so. So this fire is definitely putting out some heat right now, and this is the last little bit of heat of the night, so I went ahead and loaded it up with softwood, all pine and spruce. It's going to get really hot. The bad thing is, it is going to spit all these embers, but so far they're going up or that way. They're not actually going towards the hammock or the tarp, so I should be okay. Fingers crossed on that, but basically, last chance to get dried off. My boots are going to be a problem in the mornings because I think they're going to be frozen. I'm going to unlace them and open them wide open. I do have a little bit of firewood here. I've got a birch tree over there, and I've got all the twigs on the trees behind me, so when I wake up in the morning, getting a fire going should be rather simple. And if I have to hobble over here with boots untied, enough to thaw them out to then tie them up with the fire, I'll have to do that. It won't be the first time, certainly. So rolling some steam now. We get this all dried off, water transferred in the bottle, and then jump in the hammock. Alright guys, coming over to the hammock right now and just getting things squared away. So one thing that I like to do is put all of my gear up in the 2 gear lofts. So if you guys have not seen my gear review of this hammock, I highly recommend you check it out, because every time I talk about the hammock in a camping video, people don't understand what I'm talking about, and it generates a lot of questions. So I highly recommend checking out that video, and then you'll totally know what I'm talking about. But right now, as I mentioned earlier, I have a center zip sleeping bag, and I've got it unzipped, so when I get in, I can sit in the inner part of the sleeping bag, and then I could kick my feet over on top, and then I could just kind of slip my feet in and get changed and do all that stuff inside of there. So I've got base layer pants that I've got to get on first. I throw everything up into the head end, and that automatically, if you guys can see, will tip the hammock towards that way. So when I'm getting in, taking my boots off, I don't have the hammock slip and everything slide down towards the foot end, because that can be a nightmare trying to figure that out. So I just throw everything into the head end, and I have the hammock half unzipped, so it's zipped right up to the ridgeline. To get in, everyone has their own technique. What I do is I stand exactly where I am right here. I turn around and I sit down with my butt, and then I just kind of throw my feet in. But your boots have to be untied, of course, and basically slipped off of your feet. I do have a little shock cord here, so bungee cord. That is how I retrieve my boots off of the ground. I'm just going to tie that to my boots when I take them off, and then when I'm inside laying down, I can reach over the edge and I can fish them in, and then I'm going to click them to the ridgeline on the outside of the hammock, so kind of right where the light bulb is on this side, outside, so they can hang up off of the ground. So it is a little bit of a process. All right, so instead of using the bungee strap of the hammock to hoist my boots up, the hammock strap itself is actually dangling on the ground just because I'm hung really close to trees. So I have a lot of surplus strap, and it's got this Velcro on it. I'm just going to Velcro my laces to that, and then I'll be able to pull it up once I'm inside. So I'm going to slip my feet out of my boots right now, and I'm going to hopefully attach that to my boots, crawl in, and hopefully you guys can see how I do this. So let me just kick one foot off of the boot. I'm trying not to step in the snow either, guys, in my socks. All right, both boots are secured to the strap. Now I just want to get my knife off my hip so I don't cause any damage to my air pad or sleeping pad or have any accidents. So put that up on the ridge line there. And now I'm going to hop in. Hopefully I don't knock the camera over. And there you go, guys. It's just that simple. Once you get in and out of this hammock a few times, you'll learn what method works best for you. That works best for me. It's just kind of a slide your butt in, on your hip. Find that nice balancing point. Super simple, guys. So now I can reach out and I can grab that strap and I can pull my boots up. I'm going to carabiner them to the ridge line just on the outside of the bug net, so they'll be elevated off the ground. No critters will be able to get inside of them. And that's basically it. So it is now time to get changed, which is really simple. I can lay back, tear my pants right off, put my base layers on, change socks, do all that stuff, and then zip up the bug net to keep some of the draft out and blowing snow. And that is basically it. So I'm going to say goodnight to you guys, get all this stuff done, get the camera packed away, and I'll catch you guys first thing in the morning. Good night, guys. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful, wet, windy morning out here in the forest. Beautiful campfire crackling away. I am going to let that die out right now because I certainly do not need the fire now that my hot tea's made up. And 2 thumbs up on this. Delicious hot tea in the morning. Can't go wrong with that. So we'll let that fire go out now that I've used it for the needs that I needed. And let me explain last night. So, crawling in the hammock, it was cold last night. And then later on this morning, early in the morning, probably about 1 to 2 a.m., I could feel a warm breeze coming through. And let me explain, I am not very far from the ocean here in Nova Scotia. And you guys that watch the channel regularly, you know that the Bay of Fundy will push in gusts of warm air all year round, even in the winter time. Well, that just happened. So right now we're getting a nice warm gust of air coming from the ocean, pushing through this forest. All of this snow is melting right now. It's actually off and on raining, so the tarp is wet. It's kind of coming through the trees a little bit. And just laying in that hammock last night, a gentle rock. It's unique being in that hammock because it's not like a traditional gathered end hammock where when the wind blows you actually move. This hammock, the hammock stays still, but it gently rocks. So I basically got rocked to sleep last night, and it was awesome. I could kick the sleeping bag off a little bit, have that warm air push through. And guys, when I say warm air, I'm talking 0 degrees to plus 2 degrees Celsius. So not very warm. I still have my jacket on and my sweater on, but definitely warmer than -10, -15. So that's where we're at today. Nice and kind of lounge temperature, you know. It is going to be a wet hike out of here though, so I'm going to have to get my gaiters back on because this snow is rather wet. But we'll worry about that later on. For now, it's tea time, guys. Cheers. Alright guys, tea is all finished up, the fire is out, and I'm just starting the pack up process. I've got a nice break in the rain right now that I can actually open up the tarp, so hopefully it doesn't rain on me, but I figure why not show you guys the setup without the tarp in the way, and that way you guys can kind of get an idea. And the reason why I like to show this is because this shelter, among all hammocks, tarps, and tents that I have, this shelter generates the most amount of questions in emails, Instagram, Facebook, in the comment section. I get so many questions about this system, so I really like to show it when I can. So first off, I do have some sticks here. I have one in the foot box and one in the head end. The amok actually does come with a pole kit accessory that basically it's an aluminum tent pole, clicks together. I don't have that accessory, so I just cut little sticks. I pre-measure them from my finger to the inside of my elbow, and that actually is the perfect length for this. So those sticks go in there to elevate the foot box. You don't have to have them in there to use the hammock, but it certainly gives the hammock full form. And this foot box area is nice and waterproof, so it does protect if this does rub up against the tarp or any blowing rain comes in. Your sleeping bag stays nice and dry. So I'm just going to tip this down a little bit, break that stick there, get that out of the way, and you guys can kind of see what's going on in here. So I've got my sleeping bag unzipped, center top zip, so I just sit in there, go in, put my feet in, and then I can zip up through the chest. Last night I had this unzipped down to almost my belly button area, and I was super warm with that warm air coming in. I've got my down pants here. I'm just getting these bagged up right now. My light up here on the ridge line on the inside. I've got a little bag up here, flashlight. The storage sack over here clicks inside, and that's a nice little pocket that doesn't fall down because it clicks up high enough that it stays elevated. And then we've got these two gear loft pockets up here. So basically, it's a hammock and a tent in the trees with everything that you need. I have literally cooked inside of this hammock before in chair mode, because you can pull these straps in and actually elevate this into a chair and sit inside of it in your sleeping bag. I've actually sat inside of here with my canister stove on my cutting board on my lap, and I've cooked coffee inside of the hammock without ever exiting the hammock early in the morning. I don't recommend doing it. You have to be very careful and balance and just be very diligent in what you're doing, but it is possible and I have done it. So give you guys a good look at that. Now I'm actually going to start the pack up process and ball my sleeping bag up, get all this stuff out here, cram it in the backpack, deflate the air pad, and just continue on with packing up. Alright guys, everything's packed up inside the backpack. The campfire's totally out. And I gotta say, this trip was actually really enjoyable for something very simple as a hammock, cook over the fire in the freezing cold, waking up in the not so cold. The forest is already starting to get really foggy and misty because of the temperature and all the snow and rain. So very cool environment. Everything's in the pack. If you guys have any questions or comments, drop it down below. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out, guys. See you later.